80 for Brady, where to begin with this? So Tom Brady in and of himself is an institution. Joe and I are big football fans too. And, I was thinking about this as well. Tom Brady, who just retired last week, I think like a week ago yesterday, he
For
retired
real.
for, the second time. What we believe is official. Um, Tom Brady called it quits after 23 seasons in the NFL. I was thinking about this. Tom Brady's been in the NFL, not playing football, in the NFL. He got drafted when we were 4 years old. At least me and Joe over here.
Yeah.
He got drafted in 2000, and he finally called it a career after his last season. Um, it take the rest of the show to go through Tom Brady's accomplishments, and I don't think they need any introduction. He is the greatest of all time. He is the greatest quarterback, the greatest football player. Count them, seven Super Bowl champions, five Super Bowl MVPs, three NFL MVPs, two Offensive Player of the Year, and even a Comeback Player of the Year. If you remember the year he tore his ACL back in 2008, the first week of the year, I believe, he tore his ACL, and that was like the only major injury of his career. But Tom Brady, regardless of what you feel about him, he's not going to go away. And ain't this a nice little piece of PR we got here for the NFL and Mr. Tom Brady, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady? Isn't this a nice little bit of NFL PR over here? 80 for Brady, based on a true story about four octogenarian Bostonians. That's a fun phrase to say, octogenarian Bostonians, who are diehard New England Patriot fans, diehard Tom Brady
Interior
fans.
crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater. Sorry, the rhythm at which you said that just popped into my head.
Octogenarian Bostonians. There you go. But it is based on a true story, and they've cast this, I think, immaculately. Whatever you think of this movie, I think you got to tip your hat to the cast over here. You got Lily Tomlin, you got Jane Fonda, you got Rita Moreno, and you got Sally Field. So this is kind of like, Sex in the City with a little bit more Ensure over here. 80 for Brady. It's written by Sarah Haskins, Emily Halpern. Those are the two women who wrote Booksmart a few years ago, too. So promising writing crop. Kyle Marvin is the director. Kyle Marvin did a little bit of TV work, I believe. This is his first official movie. I guess I'll just start off by saying that, this really is a silly and superfluous movie, and it's a truly silly concept about four women who win Super Bowl tickets on a Boston radio show, very effectively hosted by Rob Corddry and Alex Moffat in this movie, who are just doing the total Pakyakad, Havid Yad type Southie accents in this thing. They host this podcast radio show, and the four women win tickets to go see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, which is one of the greatest NFL. This particular Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the Atlanta Falcons, New England Patriots versus the Atlanta Falcons. Unless you were an Atlanta fan, this is one of the greatest NFL games of all time. Did we all watch it? Joe, I figure you did. Dom, did you? Do you make it a point to watch the Super Bowl?
You know what? Actually, yes. Do I care that much about the Super Bowl? Sorry, about the game itself? Not really, but the cultural event is fun. I gotta admit, not even the commercials, because I know that's a big thing, but just getting everyone together. Usually it's a February slump. It's like, I kind of miss Christmas. It's been a while since I've seen some people, because you generally take, now, of course, that's all out of the way because I got married and you guys were there in January, but still, I'm feeling a little bit of that. And the food is a massive part of it. And we were all, wanting to see the Falcons kick Tom Brady's ass, but that was happening for like 3 quarters and then did not happen.
The thing about a Super Bowl party when you go there is that you either go to the party and something about the Super Bowl will be good. The commercials that year were good, the musical performance might be good, the game might be entertaining, or sometimes you get all three. It was in 2020, but it was the 2019 to 2020 season. I thought all three were good. And then sometimes you get the the years where it's Maroon 5 performing, the game is really boring and slow as hell, and all the commercials suck. And luckily, you have you and your friends or family there just to trash on the whole event.
Yeah, I usually watch the Super Bowl with a finite group of people. It's usually my three closest friends and my dad. That's kind of generally how the Super Bowl's been, because we're all into the game and we're all invested in it. I remember a couple of years ago, not to go long-winded, but it does go with Tom Brady though. I think probably the worst Super Bowl I ever watched was probably that Patriots-Rams Super Bowl that was 13-3 a couple of years ago. That was that New England won 13-3, and it was a monumentally boring game. The only other Super Bowl I could think that sucked was probably, again, another Tom Brady one, was probably the Tom Brady Buccaneers Super Bowl when they beat the Chiefs 31-9, because that's the thing you don't want. You don't want a blowout, and you don't want a low-scoring game. You want like a consistent matchup. That's why last year's was really good, the Bengals and Rams, because there were points where you thought both teams could actually win. And this Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl, that's really the concept of 80 for Brady, that looked like it was going to go down as one of those really shitty Super Bowls because it was 28-3 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
The Falcons were just kicking ass. And I remember it because me and my buddies, we started to turn our attention a little bit away to the game, talking. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was that the Super Bowl when the Cloverfield paradox was teased? I think it might have been.
Not teased,
No.
released, essentially, right?
Released, then teased, then released.
Like an hour later or something.
That was the
that
season
late?
before.
That was the season before.
Season
Okay.
after. You're right. Season after.
I knew that was when it was teased at like the second
forgot about
quarter,
that.
and then it dropped after the Super Bowl.
Like, because I remember whose house I was when that happened.
Sure.
And because I remember whose house I was when I betted that the Atlanta Falcons were gonna win. And I remember whose house I was at when the Cloverfield Paradox trailer dropped, and then there was shadow dropping in on the Netflix, and I stayed at that house till like 2 a.m. because we watched the movie right after.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I remember we were talking about something and something distracted us from the game, but then like the Patriots slowly started to creep back in, and this was also the meaningful Super Bowl after they won, first and only Super Bowl to go to overtime. I think over 30 Super Bowl records were broken during that game, the Falcons-Patriots. The other thing that was noteworthy about this Super Bowl, if you remember, this is when the GOAT moniker started to get assigned to Tom Brady, was after that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Was after the Patriots came back and won that Super Bowl. Then you started hearing people say, yeah, I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, not Joe Montana. I think it's time to say
You could have made that argument even before that game.
You could have. You absolutely could have. The thing was, though, he hadn't it was also was that the Deflategate season too? They start to put them together
That was before, I think.
because he did win the Super Bowl the Deflategate year too.
I think that Super Bowl. I think they were facing Seattle in that.
We really don't want to talk about this movie, do we?
I just get caught up in talking about. Talking about talking about football and everything like that. So
I'm excited.
The Deflategate was the 2014-2015 season.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Anyway, though, so 80 for Brady. I just want to throw out there, too, it was really fun to relive that Super Bowl on the big screen. I'm like, the NFL really needs to think about getting a Super Bowl or something on the big screen at an AMC.
I've been waiting for the fucking Cubs World Series win to be adapted into a film in some sort of way. Like, where the hell's my 80 for, I don't know, Bryant or whatever?
I'm surprised that the NFL doesn't do that, with an actual game, put it on the big screen, like a Fathom event, and charge $20 a ticket. I swear to you, telling me people wouldn't go see that?
I would go see it, honestly, for
I'd go see it at least once.
Super Bowl game, but playoff games, hell yeah.
A playoff game for sure. But anyway,
some diehard fans, I bet they could even relive a Super Bowl, an actual Super Bowl. Hey, here's all 4 hours of that Super Bowl.
Dude, take my $20 right now. I will go watch the 1985 Bears Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Give
hey,
me
one night
$20.
only. We're gonna
take
big
my
theater.
money. Take my money. Shit. Anyway, but yeah, again, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Rita Moreno, Sally Field in 80 for Brady. I will say that there's a lot of, I would say, average to mediocre comedy in this movie. And I would say some of the bigger gags do not work. But the one thing that I was really skeptical about was that this would simply be a vanity project for Brady and really sterling PR for the NFL. It is both of those things, but it is also packed with a bit more heart
Yeah.
and a bit more of a soul than I think a lot of people are going to expect. And with that, I'll throw it over to you, Joe.
Oh, all right. So last night, I realized, okay, I didn't put my Letterboxd review on, and I was like, typically, like, I don't try to post them before the show because, I don't want Steve seeing what I thought about the movie. But I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I posted something like, Steve, if you're reading this, this is my resignation from reviewing future Tom Brady projects. Signed, Joe Viso. And then gave him my rating and everything, which I'll give at the end of the show. But to go off of what Steve was saying there at the end, yeah, for me, the comedy to me in this movie was from mediocre to bad. Sometimes I got a good gag, like laugh out of something. Sometimes I was really impressed that the movie was kind of self-aware and knew what kind of movie it was, and just got really, really wacky by having like bobblehead Tom Brady's talk to people, or taking edibles and seeing cameos of a certain celebrity. I was sitting there, I was watching the movie, and just like there are just moments in this movie though, like, but like outside of like the really wacky like shit like that, there's a lot of sitcom humor in this, and I don't mind sitcom humor. I've grown up with sitcoms for the most part. I like sitcoms, but there's a certain delivery and like actual art to doing a sitcom. You have stuff like Modern Family, The Office, stuff like that. Hell, even How I Met Your Mother. And then you have stuff like 2.5 Men and some other sitcoms that probably got canceled after like one season because they're just not that good. And unfortunately for me, this movie kind of falls on the ladder with that. There's literally like a gag where I think it's Sally Field and her husband. Like her husband's like leaving for work, and like there's like a whole like gag with like him having like his pants loosened and everything, and it's just like, oh Jesus Christ, like it's like I'm sitting here watching this movie like that. That being said, did I hate this movie? Because a lot of people knew I was going to go see it. And let me say this. My opinion of this movie will not change whether or not you go see this movie. Because if you like when you see a movie like 80 for Brady, I'm going to go see that movie, or fuck that movie. I'm not seeing it. For me, I didn't hate this movie. It's actually very heartwarming in some ways that Steve said. It does pull the strings in some emotional ways. It didn't hit me emotionally, but like I can definitely see it working for the audience, especially the demographic this is catered to, which is older women. There was a bunch of lady night screenings happening at every theater I saw around me. I didn't go to one of them, even though it would have been great if I went to one of them, because like there was this like perfect period of time between Dom's ceremony for his wedding and Dom's reception that I could have gone to see 80 for Brady and knocked this out like 2 weeks ahead of time. But I would have been
if you had shown up late, but for that reason, I would not have blamed you.
You probably would have been able to pull a couple shotties in your Sunday best.
Just rolling with a bunch of 80-year-old women.
Yeah.
You'd be getting AARP benefits. You'd be getting a free slice of pie at Baker Square.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, like, I could see it definitely working for that. Like, I had like 3 of my friends that knew I was going to go see this. Like, all right, so is it going to be on your worst of list? No, God, no. It's not even close. I doubt it will ever be. It's never going to be on my worst of list. The movie, like, to me, I've seen movies like this before where it has 4 legendary actors and they do something goofy, wacky, sitcom-y. We mentioned it last week when we were talking about the movie we're about to review, which is 80 for Brady. We mentioned Las Vegas with De Niro, Freeman. I forgot like 2 of the other actors in that movie.
Michael Caine, I want to say.
I think it's Douglas, actually, maybe. I don't
Michael
know.
Douglas. Michael
You're
Douglas.
thinking of that heist movie.
The heist movie.
I'm thinking of Going in
I like
Style.
that one, actually.
It's Kevin Kline and Michael Douglas.
There's stuff like Red. Like, I like the first Red. I don't like Red 2. In Las Vegas, I don't like Las Vegas. Where I just think like, oh, this humor is just not working. And it really sucks that like you have these 4 legendary like actors, and the movie just kind of is mediocre or just really bad. And here, I mean, it is the same thing, but like for some reason with this movie, and maybe it was just the female charm of all these actresses, I just found it more heartfelt and warming than Las Vegas or like Red 2.
I would agree there. I would absolutely agree that there's a little bit more heart in this than it is Las Vegas, because I think the cool thing about this movie is at least that it solidifies its purpose pretty early. These women aren't just inexplicable Tom Brady fans. There's a point, there's a connective point here, and it's because 16 years ago, when Lily Tomlin's Lou was getting treatment for chemotherapy, they all got together at her house. Their television set got stuck on the Patriots game, and it was that excuse me, that faithful Patriots Jets game where Patriots quarterback Drew Bledsoe goes down with an injury, and 6th-round draft pick Tom Brady in his second year steps in, and Bledsoe never got his starting job back. And that's what propels these women to have this, not only this even stronger friendship, but this connective bond over Tom Brady. Dom, your general thoughts on 80 for Brady?
Merriam-Webster defines propaganda as the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. Make no mistake, this is Tom Brady propaganda. 1 billion %. Joe, you mentioned the bobblehead thing where he's like, let's go. I'm going to spoil all the jokes. I don't care. Like, where he was like, let's go. That was creepy. That was weird. And like, as it goes on, it got a little better where there's this running gag where he is like talking to a hallucinating Lily Tomlin. I'm not going to refer to these women by their screen names. I'm just referring to them by their real life names. Because honestly, if they had just gone by their first names in real life, I think that's it. That should have been the case.
And honestly, too, the characters are such archetypes too for a comedy like this as well.
100%.
You have the horny one, you have the one who's sick, you have the, they just hit the same beats.
There's at least some adequate development. You people,
no, there is. I will give him credit where credit is due. There is, but it's just like
there's at least a little bit of emotional tether to each of these women. Okay, Dom, continue.
And let me just going off that Tom Brady propaganda, aspect, the ending or like the game itself, you are literally reliving that Super Bowl. And that to me could not be any more boring, because it's not even like, hey, we're reliving this hey, this is like an actual sports movie. And it's like, we're reliving but like from the locker room, from like the player's point of view, the coach's point of view, it's like, oh, this is like, remember the Titans. This is like, oh, no. We are literally 4 old women watching the game play out in dramatic fashion.
And you're watching
from
the
women
side. Watch the game. You're not really watching it with them. You're watching.
What, do you think it was going to be revisionist and the damn Falcons were going to win?
Oh,
no, not even that. Not even that. It's just really damn boring. And it's cringe. It is legitimate cringe for me. I think even if you're a Pats fan, you will find this cringe, because it's so filleting over Tom Brady, and it's so obnoxious. You can't I know neither of you guys bought into that at all. I know you guys, it's front, center, above, down, below, this whole thing. And that really got to me. I actually found the first half of this movie, first 2/3 of this movie, much more enjoyable than the last third, where it is just,
I'm in the
all
same
that.
boat too. That when they, not as much as
Come on,
you're being a lot more heavier with it than I am, but I was feeling some of the same things you're saying right here when it comes to the Super Bowl part of the movie.
And the Super Bowl part of the movie is long. It is long.
It really is. I was like, it's
too
overstaying
much.
its welcome. The minute like they get on the helmet, like microphone to Tom Brady,
which is fine. That's a
like,
funny gag.
I was like laughing.
Mildly
I'm
funny
like,
gag.
oh my god! I'm like, this movie's really going. And then they go on the line, and it's just like the Rob Gronkowski and all this shit. It's just like, Jesus Christ.
There is a 1948 film called The Babe Ruth Story, and one of the plot points of that movie, I believe, there's actually a bunch of movies about Babe Ruth, some of them starring Babe Ruth, but anyway, a plot point of that movie is that there is a child in the hospital who has cancer, and Babe Ruth promises to win the game for that child with cancer. He wins the game, and the child suddenly doesn't have cancer, or something like that.
Was that a true story, though? Was that, because I
don't even know.
I feel like I've heard that, though. I don't know that much about Babe, but like, I feel like that was based on a true, like he actually did win a game for this cancer-stricken kid.
It is.
I don't freaking know, but it's so schmaltzy.
Maybe he
It's that
dreamt that
same
he did.
thing where it's like, Jesus Christ, guys, come on. And frankly, I was even going into this movie knowing that, believing that was going to be the case, and it still hit me right between the eyes with the cringe. I try not to overuse cringe, but it really hit me here. And I'm only saying this because this movie did tug on my heartstrings, but not for the reasons you guys were saying. Not even a little bit. It's tugging on my heartstrings because this is the only time, and certainly last time, unless there's a really good producer out there who sees these four women, this is probably the last time we'll see these four legends ever in a movie before something happens to one of them, God forbid. But they're old. I think freaking like Rita Moreno's 91. You know what I'm getting at? Like, come on. Time marches on, and it's like it's like Clint Eastwood, where it's like if he were to go tomorrow, his last movie would be Cry Macho. Well, it's one of those situations. And it's like Jane Fonda's last film is going to be 80 for Brady. Come on.
Well, we don't know what she has in production at the
also
moment.
true. Yeah, that's just true. But you know what I mean.
I have great news for you. Rita Monroe, her next movie, and Moreno, my bad. Her last movie may actually be playing Dominic Toretto's mother in Fast X.
Never mind. That's amazing.
80 for Brady would be a better encore.
No. This would be better.
Conversation.
This would be better, bro. If Dominic Toretto starts like dancing and like they do like West Side Story.
The best part of F9 was Joe Viso as Vin Diesel. Everything else was
John Cena can dance. John Cena can dance. But anyway,
I'll say this though. Like,
okay,
yes, this is a shameless. This isn't just Brady PR. This is NFL PR too. I can't remember. 1000%. I feel terrible because I can't remember the film critic who said this, but like, I can't remember the critic who said this, but they said this film, this NFL, and it was a slightly positive review. They said this movie exists in a world where CTE and Deflategate don't. I thought, I'm like, shit.
Okay, I'm gonna go off of that and say this. Obviously, Barbie has not released, but when you think about the story of the Barbie movie, and how that movie originally was in production hell for the longest time. And it was originally supposed to be live action, kind of almost 80-esque level of like, hey, this is just marketing. This is just a giant ad for Barbie. That's the vibes you get, right? But now, because Greta Gerwig is in production, has a hold of this, and she's got the right people in place, I trust her. I really do. Barbie is now something everyone is looking forward to because they're actually expecting something from this movie. And looking at this now, it's like, dude, watching these performances, like the script here, I guess no offense to these two writers, at least they chose women for these writers, but this script is kind of nothing. Let's be honest here, right? These four actresses, these four legends on the screen, they still freaking got it, dude.
They do.
They could kill.
They do the heavy lifting.
Murder.
They do the heavy lifting with a
they
lacking
absolutely
script.
Do.
You know who crushes it here? They all do a really good job.
Yes.
You know who crushes it here is Sally Field.
Yeah. Yes, I was gonna say Mrs. President, the first lady. She's killing it.
Sally Field owns this movie, and part of the reason is, and I know I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume this will be my second reference of the evening. I'm gonna assume you guys have not watched Sex and the City.
No.
She is Charlotte York. She's Kristen Davis's character. She's the logical one. She's sort of the timid one. She's the one who kind of grimaces when they start bringing up sex and men and everything, or like winces and everything. But she's the smartest. In a lot of ways, she's the smartest one. She's often the most emotionally conscious of them all. And she's kind of like the lean-on friend in a lot of ways. She blew me away, Sally Field. She also did a great interview on the Dan Patrick Show this week where she also talked about why she loves this movie so much. And it's not necessarily because she's such a huge Brady fan. She likes Brady. But Sally Field also brought up a good point, though. She said, I love the fact that we all got in this movie, the four of us, and the whole heart of the movie is not like chasing men or going through a
Yeah.
divorce. It's friendship. It's the connective
That is
tissue of
true.
friendship and bonding. And that is played here strong enough. Strong enough, I think. Strong enough. Not to an unflappable degree, but strong enough that it makes this movie, it at least irons out the propaganda side of it to a bearable, palatable degree.
I don't think I've ever seen Sex in the City beyond like maybe an episode or two here and there, whatever. But I do have respect for it and for what it was and what it is in like the cultural landscape
Terrific
or whatever.
show.
Yeah, I get it. And honestly, like, dude, you know, these women are much older than the ones in Sex in the City, but like, I love movies about older people, elderly people. That is a facet of life in America, particularly in America, where we're just kind of very neglectful of old people. It's like,
Movies for this target demographic don't get made often. There was probably 35. I think I counted 35, 36 people in my showing for this movie. And I'm not saying that has any bearing on my rating. I'm just saying that like it was cool to see.
Yeah.
This sounds disparaging, but it was cool to see a lot of gray hair in the theater. I don't see a lot of older people in the theater and them laughing and having a good time. I thought it was pleasant. It was just a pleasant little addition.
Pleasant is a good word here because that's about where it tops off. I think for even most people, take this out of my cynical, you know, depressing brain. And even then, I think it's still pleasant because yes, seeing these four women having a great time and like delivering actually good performances given the material, it's like it actually, this is what I was dreading the most with this movie. It's not even the Tom Brady propaganda. I'll roll my eyes, and I did 100%, but like, damn, there could have been something actually great here because these four absolute legends, like, god damn, I was looking at Lily Tomlin in her heyday, Ernestine the telephone operator, like, bro, she's acting the hell out of those scenes. She's hilarious. She's freaking amazing. And, you know, I think she's actually probably the least active out of the other three among the four of them, but she's still doing stuff occasionally. I wouldn't be surprised if she retires soon, but yeah, dude, that's what kind of irked me the most is that there's always a chance to do something better than you can cynically believe, even in this movie media, you know, depressing review landscape. And that's just my lamentable part. Maybe I was certainly asking for too much of it because with a movie called 80 for Brady, that right there should tell you all you need to freaking know. But like, what if Tom Brady was like an asshole in this movie and he played into it, but he's not, of course. You gotta put himself on there, but that would be funny, right? What if there was like a small dark tinge? That's what I'm saying. I hope a producer or whomever, a writer, freaking Jordan Peele, I don't know, just look at this movie and be like, hey, I could actually write something here, and these, like, with a dark twist, and that's like more raunchy, more, you know, whatever. These four still got it. Something like my dad's been watching Only Murders in This House or whatever, and it's like Steve Martin and Martin Short still freaking got it, and they paired him with Selena Gomez, and that's apparently getting a third season or whatever, and that's still killing.